our second rule is to divide after a vowel before one consonant. This rule has several parts. So first we're going to just do the basic level 1 rule. And our most basic version of this rule is if your vowel at the end of a syllable is an A, E, O, or U, use the long sound. If it's an I or a Y, use the long I sound. So we're going to divide after a vowel before a single consonant right here. This I is at the end of a syllable, so we will use the long sound and get the word diner. We will divide after a vowel before a single consonant. Remember that the letter U has 2 long sounds, oo and U, and often we use oo because the U sound is hard to say, but in this case we say Cupid because we can use the U sound after a K sound. We're going to divide after a vowel before a single consonant. We're going to use the long I sound and get final. Right here, we're going to divide after a vowel before a single consonant and get Slimer. Divide after a vowel before a single consonant, use the long A sound and get Fader. And right here, after a vowel before a single consonant and get Demote. We do not split here because this is a silent E at the end of a word. Now, what would happen if we tried to use the short I sounds in these words? Well, then you would say dinner, but dinner is actually spelled with 2 N's. Likewise, the word slimmer has 2 M's, so you could split between them and use the short I sound. So that's why we have diner rather than dinner and slimer rather than slimmer. All right, go ahead and try these 5 words and restart the video once you've done them. Okay, we're going to divide all of them after a vowel before a single consonant, or right here we have a blend, and the same here, which we will cover in another rule. So we're going to use the long sound. So we have open, open, replete, blatant, reply, and shady. We remember that at the end of a word with multiple syllables, a Y has a long E sound. Okay, the level 2 of this rule keeps all the same rules, but on this screen, we're just going to add the new parts you need to understand. A letter I can have a long I, although we're not going to use that rule on this page. A letter I can also have a short I or a long E, and we will talk more about when a long E is used in Rule 5. The letter Y can also have a short I sound of I. So the rules that are crossed off here are not going to apply to this page, just to make it easier. So on this page, we are going to use the short I or the long E for the letter I and the short I sound of I for the Y. So we're going to divide after the vowel before a single consonant, but we're going to use the short I sound of I for clinic. Here, this O is going to keep its long sound following this part, but we're going to use the short I sound. So we're going to have prohibit. Right here, we're going to divide after a Y. The Y in this word functions as a vowel, and we're going to use the short I. We remember that a C before an E, I, or a Y says S. So this word is going to be cynic. A G before an E, I, or a Y may, but does not have to, say J. In this case, it does, and we're going to use the short I sound and have Jim. Here we have myth. Right here, we're going to use the long E sound. In Rule 5, we'll talk about this more. This is mostly used before another vowel. So we're going to have a long E sound of E, so we're going to have radio. Notice this A still takes the long A sound at the end of a syllable. All right, you try it on these words and see how you do. For the I's and Y's, you're going to use a short I sound. Unless it's an I before another vowel, then try the long E sound. All right, Here we have syrup, cylinder, diploma. Notice the O still keeps the long sound at the end of the syllable. Spinach and patriot. Right here we have an I before another vowel, so it's going to use the long E sound. Again, we will talk about that more in Rule 5. Now, for level 3 of our Rule 2, divide after a vowel before a single consonant, we have some special things that the letter O does. The schwa sound is the short U sound of or sometimes the I sound. The letter O often schwas to an sound before the letters TH, M, N, or V. Here are some common examples of this, like in mother, other, brother, company, month, and oven. So in this word, this one, and this one, I followed the rule, divide before one consonant. The THs are 2 letters, but they make one sound, so we consider it like one consonant. But instead of having the long O sound, we have the short U sound of Right here, we're dividing between 2 consonants. So this O is in the middle, but instead of taking the short O sound of like we would expect for a vowel in the middle, it schwas to And this Y is at the end of a word with multiple syllables, so it has a long E sound. Now, if you have an O after a W, it also takes on a short U sound many times, like in the words wolf, one, wonder, and woman. However, if your WO is followed by an R, it starts to sound like were, like in the word word and work. All right, try this new rule with O before a TH, M, N, or V, or an O after a W using the short U sound. How did you do? You should have divided right here. So here we have honey, shovel. In Rule 8, we will discuss why we're dividing here rather than after the O before a single consonant. Compute. This is using Rule 1, dividing between 2 consonants. But this O takes on the schwa sound of so I put it in here. Here we have nothing and shoving. Right here, the word shove, which is the root of shoving, has a silent E, which gets dropped. So we're adding a suffix ing, which is why it's split here and not here. We will cover that more in the rule about suffixes and prefixes. Okay, so here are some nonsense words that you could try. For all these nonsense words, use the level 1 rule of if a syllable ends in a vowel, use the vowel's long sound. Okay, using the long sounds and dividing after a vowel before a single consonant, we would have pofer, yiner, gopi. This Y takes on a long E sound at the end of a word with several syllables. Liper and doofer.